What is going on, Chumbas? Today we're going to be talking about cyberpsychosis. Now, I did make a video about this maybe like 3 weeks ago, and this was before the anime released, so there are some questions floating around in the air right now with regards to the difference between cyberpsychosis and the anime, and the one we find when it comes to the lore of Cyberpunk 2077, and of course that relates to the TTRPG version of the game. Now, let's explain a little bit about what we see in the anime. The anime heavily talks about the idea of overuse of military grade level cyberware that causes cyberpsychosis. We can see this with the lieutenant colonel in the very beginning of the anime. We see this with David, and we see this with Maine. So there are a few characters that exhibit cyberpsychosis based on overuse of their cyberware. Now, is this accurate? Is this correct? It's not wrong per se, but there is actually a lot more information with regards to cyberpsychosis in general. Now, there's one thing I want you guys to keep in mind. It's not so much how much or how many cyberware parts you have on your body. Of course, this is a contributing factor, but if you think about it, that would make literally every Maelstrom gang member a cyberpsycho. That would make high-level corpos with potentially military-grade cyberware on them cyberpsychos. So there are a lot of things that contribute to cyberpsychosis. It's not just one or two things, and I think that's the mistake I made in my previous video. Honestly, the previous video was based off what Mike Pondsmith said, which was cyberpsychosis is caused by rogue AIs infiltrating your cyberware. So that's what that video was all about. But there are more information I want to share here, and this is actually thanks to those who have commented on that video. So I do want to give a huge shout out to Alex Solomon, who answered a question that was asked by Soja Unlimited. So again, Soja Unlimited, thanks for asking the question. And there is one more person I want to thank here, and they go by the name Nilos. Now, I want to first talk about what Alex Solomon said, or I guess the conversation between both Alex Solomon and Soja Unlimited. So the question goes, how does Edgerunner Cyberpsychosis match up with 2077 Cyberpsychosis? Outdated, corrupted parts versus brain damage from overloading your body with parts. Alex Solomon gives a very detailed answer. So Alex Solomon goes on to say the following. It gets complicated. One should mention that Maine and David were almost certainly taking more than immunosuppressants. Oh my god, I butchered that word. Cyberpunk has detailed rules on combat stims, antipsychotics, and overall drug use. The computer game mentions it as a core cause for some of the psychos you encounter as well. The anime had a bit more careful about such things though. I doubt the producers were willing to go that hardcore. He goes on to explain that drugs, chrome, general PTSD from constant combat, mix it up with sensory deprivation. This is one I didn't know about, but it's cool. So sensory deprivation from having your limbs and skin replaced, and it gets easier and easier to forget you're human. And when that happens, all those lovely cultural taboos hardwired into us from birth just stop applying, and all the meatbags just look like targets. So this is actually cool. And then he goes on to put in parentheses, not an accident that David's hallucinations before the cyberskeleton involved innocent people sprouting guns and speaking gibberish. So he actually gives a really detailed explanation, and no matter how many times I've read the source books, I was not able to compile the kind of knowledge that our homeboy Alex Solomon was able to present. So again, thank you for the response, and Soja Unlimited, thank you for the question. This is very interesting because it seems that there is more than just one contributing factor, which makes sense because then, as I mentioned, high-level corpos, Maelstrom gang members, literally all the Maelstrom gang would be cyber psychos at this point. I mean V, but V may be an interesting thing. There's characters like Adam Smasher, and of course we have someone like David. Now, if we apply everything we know about cyberpsychosis from our homeboy Alex Solomon here and apply it to characters like Maine, who clearly had some PTSD thing going on. Maybe it was the constant combat as well, and the fact that he had, you know, a few cyberwares on him. And let's not forget, he was not special like David was. meaning he wasn't able to cope with the amount of cyberware he had on him, as well as someone like David or Adam Smasher. So maybe at this point, that is when the cyberpsychosis started hitting him. He started having hallucinations, started thinking about his past. So it is cool to actually think that cyberpsychosis can be caused by a multitude of things, and it does make sense for a lot of the cases. Otherwise, again, everyone would be a cyberpsycho. Now, another theory presented by Nilos goes a little bit like this. So we have combat cyberware is corrupting and changing the nervous system to be more combat focused. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that also makes a lot of sense to me. And I don't know if this is lore accurate, but think about it. Someone like the lieutenant colonel in the beginning may have gone through, a traumatic past, and he does have a military grade cyberware on him. And now here he is in the middle of downtown core doing what he knows best, maybe heavily influenced by the combat cyberware that he has on, thus becoming combat focused. So now everybody looks like a target. The second point here makes a lot of sense as well. The drug use leads to damage to the human brain and the nervous system. So this is, I think, kind of referenced in the anime when Rebecca was starting to say that the drugs are no longer taking the same effect. It's to the point where our body has adapted to it. Like, this is a thing even with our bodies, where if you continuously take something consistently, you become immune to it. It no longer affects you the same way. So that could be it. Or it's just so damaged beyond repair at this point that it's just taking it in, not knowing what to do with these drugs. So both of these ideas are very valid. And I think, again, the comments that these guys have provided have allowed me to better understand the cyberpsychosis that we witness in the anime itself. If you apply both of these theories, or both the theories suggested by these guys from the comment section, it makes a lot of sense when it comes to what actually happened to our Chumba David. But what do you guys think about the cyberpsychosis we see in the anime? Is it similar to you in regards to playing the missions that we have gone through in Cyberpunk 2077? Is it a little different? Do you think it's better fleshed out and explained in the anime or in the video game? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and let's get talking. That's it for me in this one, Edgerunners. I will see you in the next one. Bye.